Hello, everyone. I'm George Wilson, Regional Volunteer Coordinator with AARP Maryland. I'm so excited to be here today with Chef Christine for our monthly cooking demonstration, where we'll be diving into a special recipe just for you. August is a fantastic time to celebrate the joy of coming together over food. It's all about the connections we make and the cultures we share at the table. Today, we're going to learn how to make French potato salad, a recipe that brings people together. Good morning, Christine. What
Good morning.
is showing us how to prepare today?
So, listen, the Olympics are front and center for me. I don't know if you're what I'm obsessed. So, I thought I would bring, now that I'm pretty convinced I'm a women's rugby player, for sure. I was thinking all things Parisian. And of course, I went to a cooking school that focused in on French technique. And one of the things I learned how to make there 120 years ago was French potato salad. And I may have shown this to some of y'all before because it is, George, this is the recipe, man. I will tell you, because this is no mayonnaise. It focuses in on the principles of the Mediterranean diet, which we like. And anytime you can take something somewhere, I'm going to make it for my lunch today, but anytime you can take something somewhere and it's not loaded with mayo in the summer, I'm all about it, right?
Absolutely. I love potato salad, but yeah, you got to be careful with that stuff in the summertime. And yes,
oh my God,
I'm all in with the Olympics.
Yeah, I can't stop watching. I can pommel horse now. I can play rugby. I'm sure I could do a balance beam. I can barely get down the steps without grasping something. I'm so into it. So let me show you what I'm doing here. So I have some little red potatoes. I love little red potatoes. When I was a kid, hated them. Hated them. But now, love them. And I always buy a big old bag of these because you can do so many things with them. I try not to heat up the kitchen too much right now. I'm in a super old house, so everything just gets hot all the time. But just a little boil on the stove and we're going to be good here. I take these potatoes. You're not going to peel these. These would be a pain in the tuchus if you peeled them. And I just cut them into half, or if they're really big, I'll cut them into quarters. Right? Super simple. And then they go into a pot with cold water. We always start potatoes in cold water so that the outside doesn't cook and get overcooked before the inside is done. And I know, George, now that you are retired, you said you were taking care of your wife, Dana, and you promised her you were going to cook.
Yes, I certainly
yes.
did. And I am looking up to it for the record.
That's so good. So I have on the stove here, I just have some potatoes that I got started right before we went live. And I put salt in the water, but if you're watching your sodium, you can always dial that back, right? I like it because when you have good salty water, it flavors the potato from the inside, right? That's the only chance we get to do that.
All right.
And then I'm going to take a shallot, or in French, échalote, right? I'm going to take a shallot, and because I'm not going to make a ton of this, I'm only going to use half. And you can see I cut it in half, but I cut it through the root so that I have two pieces, but the root is holding that whole thing together. So I'll just cut this, and I like the shallot because I always say it's the city mouse to an onion being a country mouse. And I don't know if that makes sense, George, but I think it's just got a little more, it's not quite as aggressive as if you were doing like a raw red onion. But if any kind of onion bothers you when it's raw, all you have to do is rinse it in cold water. And once you do that, that takes some of that pungency away. So I'm going to cut this into little. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but I'm taking notes while you demonstrate.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this is one of my family's favorite recipes that I make. This and my corn salad, which I've made for you guys before. But it's just classic and easy. But I'm going to take a little bit of the shallot, and then I'm going to pop it in my bowl. I have a big old bowl over here that I'm going to use. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to do this almost like a little bit of a tuna niçoise. Have you ever had tuna niçoise? Where they do the tuna on the salad and the green beans and the potatoes and all of that. If you wanted to do that here, you would wait until about the last 5 minutes of cooking on your potatoes, cut up some green beans and chuck those in there at the same time.
Okay.
I try to make things really simple so you're not using too many pots. Now, a little bit of Dijon, because I love Dijon mustard. I really do. And this, I would say this is mustard forward. Do you like mustard?
Yes.
Oh, I knew I liked you. And it's called Dijon. It's called Dijon because it comes from the Dijon region of France, and it has white wine in it. Now, remember white wine because that is going to be part of our recipe here. Now, you can see I'm not measuring, right? Yeah. I basically do 2 parts of oil to 1 part of vinegar because I like it really tart. And because I'm cooking my potatoes now, we're going to put those into this when they're warm. It's pretty good stuff. All right. So I'm just giving this a little mix. You can see nothing fancy there. Put a pinch of salt. And remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it away. So don't get too crazy.
Understood.
All right. So I'm just going to do that, give that a little love, and then have some decent quality olive oil here. This is where you want to use your extra virgin olive oils, right? This is the place. Because extra virgin olive oil isn't made to be heated a lot. The heat is going to damage the oil, and it's going to make things happen to it that aren't good for us, and it's just not going to taste quite as good. So if you're spending the money on a really good quality olive oil, use it when it's not going to be too heated up. And you can see by doing that little drizzle technique that I did there, that helps us form an emulsification. And that means, George, all of the ingredients are going to hang out together. They're all going to hang out, be friends, do the thing. And like I said, I like to go pretty mustardy. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting. Oh, there's my timer. Ooh, George, I make a very good vinaigrette. All right. So I have these potatoes going, and what I want to check, is if they are fork tender. Will a fork go through it easily? Because we don't want to overcook them. We don't want to cook them so that they're mushy. We want them to hold their form, right? I'm doing a class right now. I'm taking this certification class in culinary medicine. And it's really interesting stuff. And I was talking about my French potato salad because it's vinaigrette, because of a lot of different things that it does. And I had to make one on the fly. And I think they only had Idaho potatoes. They just didn't work quite as well for me. So these little red guys, they are what we love. Now, I'm going to drain it here just so I can do it in front of you and not walk away. All right. Perfect. I'm going to pour that back in there. Now, this is the cool part. If you're into it, if you're feeling oh so very French, you can take a little bit of white wine. Look, it's like I'm getting a potato facial right now. I love this. You can take a little bit of white wine. And when I'm cooking, I prefer white wines that are not oaky. So I wouldn't want to use a Chardonnay.
Okay.
I wouldn't use a Sancerre because it's too darn expensive. But a Sauvignon Blanc, something that's crisp and white, I really like with cooking.
Okay.
By pouring this over our potatoes, our warm potatoes, it helps them soak up that deliciousness. That's what kind of gives it that flavor that we're looking for.
Right.
Now, you can, all I smell is wine now, George. It's fabulous. All right. So I've got my wine here. I've got my potatoes. I'm not going to let these soak very long. It will soak up all of your wine if you give it a little time. But I'm just going to take these warm potatoes, scoop them, and if I scoop a little wine, so be it. And if you want to skip this step, right, let's say just you're not going to have wine laying around, hanging out in your fridge, or it's just not your vibe, it's totally okay. You don't need it. It just gives a little extra flavor. All right. So, and George, check it out. I'm going to bring it close. Just because I was so excited, AARP Maryland cooking class this Saturday.
I love the ad.
Yeah. I'm so excited. We have over 500 people registered for that class. Isn't that crazy?
That's wonderful, but that's because it's so popular.
You know what it is? We're making steak because everybody loves a steak. So we're going to do a little steak, either a skirt or a hanger steak. I'm going to show them how to make a beautiful little couscous salad. It lasts for a couple of days. And then I'm going to show them, we're going to make a little lemon mousse sort of thing. It's really yummy. All right. So now I've put my potatoes in here. And if I want, I can let this cool. I can put it in the fridge. You don't ever want to put something hot into your fridge.
Right.
Don't do it because everybody thinks it's going to cool this down and eventually it will. But before that, it's going to heat up your fridge. So we're not so interested there. Now check this out. I have a little bed of greens. I did spinach because it's what I have here. I'm going to take just a little bit of my potato salad. I know my family loves this. I'm going to take a little bit of the potato salad, put it on top there, and then because I am who I am, I'm actually going to flake a little tuna on here because I like the whole salad niçoise thing. I think it's lovely. And that is a whole ding-dang meal. You've got your protein, you've got your green vegetable, your leafy greens, you've got your carbs, because I know everybody wants to make carbs seem like they're the bad guy, but they are what give you the fuel, right? You've got some healthy fat in there. I'm going to do just a pinch of the salt, just a little grind of this, and there you go. So that is the French potato salad. I'm bringing this up front. All right, that is the French potato salad. That is making a whole meal right there. What do you think, George? Can you manage it?
I would love to. Christine, thank you so much for guiding us through this delicious recipe. It's been a pleasure co-hosting with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to our viewers, if you want to learn more about the events, resources, and opportunities AARP Maryland offers throughout the year, please visit our website, aarp.org/MB for Maryland. Thanks for joining us today.